We will get started momentarily. While we wait, if you can you please put your name and your organization in the chat, please? So we can record attendance. And we will be doing formal introductions as well for those who may not be able to access the chat. Yes, Dr. K, do you have a question?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't see the chat. This happened to me last time when I tried to attend a meeting. I don't see the chat box on my screen.
At the top, do you see the icon with people?
Yes.
Right next to it, do it say chat? It's like a little bubble.
It says share invite.
So anyone else, can you check to see if you have access to the chat? Well, I see some entering into the chat, Dr. K. So maybe we'll just, when we get to the verbal introductions, maybe we'll just record your name and your organization there.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Well, it's 11:03. We can go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for attending the Emergency Food and Shelter Phase ARPA-R Technical Assistance Training. And I know I have March 30th on there on the date, but it is today, May 31st, 2022. And it's only because we've already conducted this ARPA-R Technical Assistance Training. So I apologize for that typo there. So we're going to get started. This is our agenda. We're going to go through a brief welcome and introductions. We're going to go over an overview of the EFSP program, reviews of the phase RFA process, the phase ARPA RFA process, and then the applications, and if you have any questions at the end. However, feel free throughout the presentation, if you have a question, you can either raise your hand or type it in the chat. So my name is Rashana Walker. I am a senior program specialist here with the Department of Housing and Workforce Solutions. I am the facilitator as well as part of the local board contact for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program, also known as EFSP. So what I'm going to ask is that participants, and I have the list, so I'll call on you. If you can introduce yourself, your name, your title, and the organization you represent, the EFSP service category your agency intends to apply for, and then the number of years your agency has been providing that service. So we'll start with Connie.
Hi, my name is Connie Winkle. I am actually a grant consultant working for Transgender Health and Wellness Center. And I believe that we'll be applying for emergency, I'm trying to remember the categories right now because I don't have the grant in front of me. Some emergency utility and rental assistance, that sort of thing.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. K.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. I'm Dr. K. Loomis. I represent New Beginnings Incorporation, New Beginnings Transitional Services, and we work with the military community, veterans, and active duty. We have a rapid housing program, food secure program, and rent and utility assistance. So we will be applying for rent assistance and the food assistance.
Thank you. And Eudora Mitchell?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Eudora Mitchell, and I'm Executive Director of the Quinn Community Outreach Corporation in Moreno Valley. And we have a community food distribution center, and we will be applying for assistance with the operations of our distribution center.
Perfect, thank you. And next we have Gail.
Good morning, I'm Gail Lockwood, and I am working in partnership with Connie Winkle for a transgender health and wellness center. And we will be working towards the rental and utility assistance.
Thank you, Gail. Marisol?
Hello, my name is Marisol. I am the grants manager over at the Transgender Health and Wellness Center, and yes, we'll be working towards the rental assistance program.
Perfect, thank you. And then Valerie, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Valerie. I am an administrative services analyst here at the county. So I work with Roshana on the EFSP program, and I mainly do the impacts report at the end. So you'll be submitting your final local recipient organization reports at the end, and I kind of just put together that report.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Valerie is awesome too. So an overview of EFSP. What is EFSP? EFSP stands for the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. It's a federally funded program that is administered by the FEMA department. The EFSP program was authorized in 1983 under the Stuart B. McKenty Homeless Act. And since then, everyone knows it as McKenty-Vinnie Homeless Assistance Act. So EFSP was created to solely supplement and expand the work of local social service organizations, and that's for both nonprofit and governmental, in order to help individuals or families with economic emergencies. So the reason why supplement and expand is in bold is because the EFSP program is not to solely support any new or existing programs. So it's not to solely support any programs. It's only to supplement and expand what you are currently doing. So this is the chain of responsibility. So you have FEMA, who receives the money, the monies from the federal government. They monitor program performance, and they award the appropriation to the EFSP National Board. Then there's the National Board, which is made up of different organizations, and you'll see these different organizations is also required for our local board as well. Representation from our local board as well. So you have the FEMA, American Red Cross, Catholic Charities, National Council of Churches, Jewish Federation, Salvation Army, and United Way. So the national board makes the policy decision at the national level and sets the national program parameters. They also select the jurisdictions to receive funding, and they disperse the fundings to the local recipient organizations. And when I say that, I mean, so EFSP is a little bit different, and it's unique from other CLC funding. Other CLC funding, the CLC receives the funding, and then the CLC disperses the funding to the different organizations. EFSP is different. The CLC is just the local board contact. However, the national board, FEMA, is who disperses the funding. So, and we'll get into what the local board contact does, but your actual funding from EFSP will come from the national board. And then there's the local board, which the local board is responsible for advertising the availability of funds, overseeing this process, which we're doing now, determining the amount of categories to be funding, and make local policy decisions. And you'll see some of those local policy decisions and program parameters that were set at a local level further in the presentation. And then the local board monitors the agency performance. And then there's the local recipient organization, which you will refer to as LRO. The local recipient organization is the organizations that provide the direct services to the individuals who are in need. So the County of Riverside Local Board, these are the participating organizations that sit on the local board for EFSP, which is different from our BOG, which is the Board of Governance. And the reason why it's different from the BOG is because the BOG determines the COC funding, whereas the EFSP local board determines make program changes or parameters for the EFSP local recipient organizations. Any questions so far? Okay. So the funding priorities for EFSP phase ARPA are, and these were set by our local EFSP board. 55% of the funding is for shelter, 35% for food, and 10% set aside for utilities. And the little asterisk for the 10% utilities is not utilities is normally, it is an eligible activity for EFSP. However, the local board decided for other phases that utilities will not be a funding priority for EFSP because of the other resources out there for utilities. However, for phase ARPA R, because we receive almost 3 times the amount, 3 times the allocation that this county normally receives, they decided to include utility assistance as an eligible expense at a local level. So utility assistance is only allowed for phase ARPA R. So award expectations. So total Riverside County was awarded 3.7, approximately 3.7 million for emergency food and shelter throughout the county. The spending period for ARPA R is November 1, 2021 through April 30th of 2023. Now, it's important to note, if you've read this RFA, this new one that just came out, of the 3.7, only 129,000 is left for this round. So you guys are lucky. You guys are fortunate enough that this amount was still available, because we actually put out this same RFA twice before. However, because like I mentioned earlier, we received so much, 3 times the amount that we normally receive, we had roughly about 129,000 still left from the previous allocations. So that's the reason why we put out this new RFAs, because we want to truly allocate 100% of the funds that were allocated for Riverside County. We want it allocated to Riverside County. So it's only about 129,000 that is still 129,449 that is still available for allocation with the applications that you all will be potentially turning in. Any questions regarding that? No? Okay. Am I going too fast? If I am, just stop me, let me know. So this timeline, we're going through the technical assistance today. Question and answer period in June 1st at 5 p.m. The deadline to submit applications is Monday, June 6th by 5 p.m. So next Monday by 5 p.m. is the deadline to submit applications. Eligibility. So all agencies providing food and shelter services for at least 1 year are eligible to apply. 1 year in Riverside County are eligible to apply for this funding. And the categories, as mentioned earlier, is shelter, food, and metered utility assistance. And it's important to note it's metered utility assistance, so gas, electric, water, and sewer. So those that we're able to get that have meters are reading on. And Riverside County is separated into supervisory district. All applicants will be required to identify which of the 5 districts they intend to provide services in. And then all applicants must complete the required applications, which the required portions of the applications. So new applicants have to complete the entire applications, whereas returning applicants only have to complete 2 parts of the applications. Criteria for the LRO. So for an agency to be eligible for funding, it must be a nonprofit or a government agency. It cannot be barred or suspended from receiving federal funding. Have a checking account so that you can receive electronic payments. Have an accounting system. Had a federal employer identification number. Have a DUNS number a valid email address for communication, conduct an annual audit. If receiving $100,000 or more, and then conduct if you're expending over if you're expending $750,000 or more, you have to have an external uniform Office of Management and Budget uniform auditing requirement. There is that requirement. And you have to already be providing services and using its resources in Riverside County or in the area you're seeking funding for at least a year. You have to practice non-discrimination. You have to have a voluntary board if you are a nonprofit. And to the extent practicable, involve homeless individuals serving on that board. Eligible activities. There's mass shelter, other shelter, which includes hotel, motel vouchers, and there's rent and mortgage assistance, served meals, other food, which is considered like food pantries, food vouchers, food banks, metered utility assistance, and then the admin cost is only applicable to the local board contact. So admin cost is not ineligible activities for other LROs. Any questions? So funding, so for a new application, a new applicant, that means you have not received EFSP funding in the last 2 phases. That means, yes, you haven't received any EFSP allocation in the last 2 phases. The maximum request amount per supervisory district is $20,000, and the minimum requirement, the minimum request should be $5,000. And then for returning applicants, minimum 5,000, the maximum per district is 125,000, which that 125,000 was increased for this specific phase because, like I said earlier, we received 3 times the amount that we have received in the past.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
My question is, there was a maximum of 20,000 per supervisory district. How do we know how much of that has been already requested?
So the way this one, well, you request the maximum request is the $20,000 maximum request is your request.
Oh, not per district. Okay.
No, because the way we allocate funding, it's a formula that we use. It doesn't reflect what I have on the screen now. So this is your request.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question. Application standard. Of course, all proposals should be submitted in accordance and complete. Housing and Workforce Solutions should not pay any costs incurred in the preparation of your proposal. So just to know that. And then the project application is divided into 4 parts. It would, and I don't know, I think it is in here somewhere, but I want to mention we're requesting that you, when you submit the application, submit it in those 4 parts. Well, it's actually in the next bullet point. It says submit one application that includes 4 PDF parts in that email. The narrative, which is, I believe is part D, is a maximum of 10 pages, and that's including the questions. And then new agencies, new applicants must submit all required documentation, and we'll go through the required documentation in the, I believe it's the next slide or next couple slides. And then and the next bullet point just points out that the returning applicants only need to complete just the cover page in part B, but new applicants need to complete all parts of the application. In agencies, you may withdraw your proposal at any time prior to the due date and time by submitting notification of withdrawal signed by the organization's authorized agent. Proposals cannot be changed or modified after the due date and the time designated for receipt. So scoring process. I'll go over the new applicant. I won't worry about the right side of this little table. So there is an organization history overview. There's a performance outcome part of the narrative. This is the narrative part of the application. There's a capacity and program management, accounting and financial management, and coordination and collaboration. Those parts will be the parts, which is part D, the narrative of the application. That will be the part that will be scored. So we'll have a evaluation committee, which is made up of non-conflicted board members and volunteers to score your narrative part of your application, which is A through E. Organizations that have funds reallocated, and it doesn't apply to anyone, I believe, on this call, because I believe all of you will be new organizations. But if you were, if your organization has fund reallocated in the past, it will be points deducted, or if you reallocated more than 25% of your funding, you won't be eligible to apply. And then there's the scoring deductions, which it will not apply, doesn't seem to apply to any of the organizations on this call, but in the future, you'll know 10%, 10 points will be deducted from your total score. If you in the past did not turn in any required reports or documentations by the due date. So keep that in mind if you are awarded funds that the reports, if you turn them in an untimely fashion, those points will be deducted the next time you apply for funding. All applicants that receive a score of 70 or above will be considered for funding. Final ranking and funding recommendations are submitted to the local board, and then the local board approves those funding. And then that information, once the local board approves the funding, we have to submit the allocations to the national board, and then the national board has the final approval. And what they do is they make sure that your agency has not received any EFS or is in compliant and has not received any compliance issues in the past for EFSP. And the threshold review is just to double check to make sure that you completed all requirements of the application before we submit it to the review and ranking evaluation committee. And then if your organization did not pass the threshold requirements, you will not be considered for funding or eligible to appeal the decision. And then the applicant, again, the review committee reviews the application and evaluate for scoring. Each application is read by at least 2 to 3 evaluators. And as I was mentioning earlier, ranking is determined by application score and region. And then final ranking and funding recommendations are submitted to the local board for approval that are subject to the national board approval as well. So the application. So all applicants must complete the cover page. New applicants must complete Part A. And Part B, all applicants must complete Part B. All applicants, only new applicants need to complete Part C as well as D. So all parts need to be completed by new applicants, Part A, B, C, and D. Any questions regarding that so far? Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand correctly. If you're a new applicant, you can apply up to 20,000 per district?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you operate in more than one district, it's 20,000 per district. So if you operate, for example, if you operate in District 1 and 2, you can apply for 40,000 because you're applying for 2 districts.
Okay. But in order to be eligible, you have to have a physical presence, or just be serving the people in that community?
Just be providing services in that district.
In that district. Okay. I have a second question while you're here. The excluded parties verification link does not work. Apparently it is connected to sam.gov now. So I am assuming, and so tell me if I'm correct, that you have to have a sam.gov registration in order to receive funds.
That's correct, because the sam.gov is the site that tells us if you are excluded from receiving federal funding.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure I was clear on that, because that's what it seemed to be leading me to. So
it is, and you'll see it in the part of this presentation. I did a little walkthrough or example of how to obtain that registration and that
thank you. I'm familiar with how to do that. So
okay,
but yeah, I'm sure people will appreciate that.
Yeah, good question. No, good question. So mandatory attachments. I won't go over this one because this is for returning applicants. Not unless, do we have any returning applicants on the line? Dr. K, you're a returning applicant or? you
No,
have a
I'm not a
question?
returning advocate. I had a question and a comment about that sam.gov. There is a message in sam.gov. Those of us that are renewing, we can't renew. They have a backlog, they say, of months. They can't even give you a date when you can renew. So there's no way for us to get that clearance. I can only
So-
tell you that United Way, Greater Los Angeles does it a different way. They have a different way of checking to see if you're barred.
Mhm.
But if you go with sam.gov, because I've talked to the analysts there for the last 3 weeks, they're not renewing you because there's a backlog because they transitioned out of DUNS to the new system.
I'll be curious to talk to you offline to see how United Way in LA is doing it. I know that I walked an agency through it back in November. I walked an agency through it and she was able to get it then. So
That's
it
then.
could have
But see,
changed.
they just
Yeah.
start transitioning to
Yeah.
the new system, I
Got
believe,
it.
February. So we were to renew,
Oh.
but they won't let us renew. We're on a backlog. So they told us that we can operate, but they can't renew us until they get this transition completed.
Okay, well, we can work around that offline. Maybe it's something that they have you received in writing. We can work around that.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
And
These,
this is Eudora again. If we find that we might end up having the same issue with SAMS.gov as the previous question, should we just let you know?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, just let us know, and then because we can work around it. We really welcome new organizations and new agencies, so we can be as flexible as we can. We just want to make sure that there's some type of verification that you're not on that excluded parties list. So by no means we can be flexible. Just we'll talk offline, and because everyone's case may be different. As she mentioned, that's for renewals. I'm not sure if that's for new registration. So we can definitely talk offline regarding that one.
Okay.
Great question, great dialogue. So on the screen, you see a list of mandatory attachments, which includes a copy of your 501c3, board roster, scheduled board meetings, copies of your board minutes. And I want to say within the last year, go back a year. And if you meet quarterly, that's 4 or 3. Your independent annual audit, an annual review, financial year end report, match documentation, client forms, client non-discrimination statement, your mission statement, and if you are applying for hotel motel vouchers, if you have a motel hotel agreement. And of course, we talked about the excluded party list. 211 community resource database program information form, which is included in the RFA in the application. I believe it's the last page. And then the CLC membership letter, which the template is included also in the application, which is the second to the last page. And I couldn't have mixed that up, but it's the last 2 pages of the application. And for the CLC membership letter, all you just need to do is input your information and put it on your agency's letterhead. So going to the sam.gov, I just did a little screenshot of how to gain that verification. You just go to the site, hit search records, and then enter your DUNS number, and then you search it. And I have this is a sample of an organization that have done it. So you see where, we just need to see where it says has active exclusion. It says no. I don't know if you can see my, I don't know if you can see my pointer, my mouse, but see where it says has active exclusion, it says no. That's what we need to see. However, I understand that they may have some backlog, so we can work through that to see if we can get some verification somehow. Part B is the funding request. So for the funding request, this is a sample of how you would complete this table. And of course, this sample that you see on the screen is, as you can tell by the funding request, is that this organization is an organization that is a new organization. I mean, not a new, a returning organization. So if you are, let's say, I did hear someone say rent and mortgage. So you're going to do the average, whatever that average is. You want to do, like this one has 15, let's say $1,500 is their average. But if you do 20 households times 3 months at the $1,500, that request is going to be for $90,000. Does that make sense? So, for example, another example is if you serve meals and the national rate, and this is the reason why it's an asterisk, you can charge $3 per meal, and if you serve 1,000 meals, $3,000 is going to be your request, and so on and so forth with the other categories. And you want to, for the rent and utilities, you want to be as approximate as possible, because everyone's utility is going to be, utilities and rent is going to be different. So you want to just do the average or approximate as possible to gauge on how much you're going to request. Does that make sense? Okay. So like I said, this is just an example. It's an example only for an organization who requested 170,000 and 750. And just so that it's clear, I just put in numbers. No one has requested this, but I just put those numbers in. So this is part B. This is the second part of part B. This is where you're going to put the districts, the information in the district. So this organization is providing served meals, other food, shelter, rent and mortgage, and utility assistance in District 1. So you're going to add up that amount and put it, the per district total, in that per district total. I keep doing that. I apologize. In that column. And then at the bottom in the red, you see the total amount requested. Any questions regarding this table and how to complete this funding request? No? That's either a good thing or a bad thing. So another part of part B. So as I stated earlier, EFSP is intended to be a supplemental program. So because it's a supplemental program, the local board is requiring the applicants to show at least 55% match for the request. So it's 55% of the total program budget. So in this example, the total program budget is $450,000. The match amount is $247,000 that they would have to show. Does that make sense? Okay. So you have to show 55% of your total program budget. and where that source is coming from, of course. So another example, an LRO provides food in District 4 and 5 with a program budget of 180,000. To show 55% match, if the 55% match of the 180 is 99,000. So they would have to show 99,000 coming from a different funding source. Make sense? So part C is the required documents. And the required documents, we went through the attachments that we listed earlier. I'm not gonna go word by word, on this slide. And then part D, every question must receive a response, and this is the narrative. Every question must receive a response, and as I said earlier, they're going to be scored by at least 2 to 3 evaluators. And applicants that receive a score of 70 points or higher will be considered for funding. So we went through the timeline earlier. Another typo. Deadline to submit questions is actually June 6th. So June 6th is the deadline. And then all applications must be received by email June 6th. And if you have any questions after today, at least by 5 o'clock tomorrow, they must be received by email at our EFSP@revco.org email address. And then if we receive any questions by June 1st at 5, we'll post them online on our website. Any questions?
Yes, this is Eudora. I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
We have employees that work in our food pantry. So when I'm looking at total income, can the income that goes to pay those salaries be included as total program income as part of it?
Let me see if I understand your question. When you say, can you ask the question one more time?
Yes, we have pantry workers that receive pay for hourly wages. My question is, can that hourly pay be included as part of the operational expenses for the budget?
So I think I understand your question, but let me know if I'm getting, I have it wrong. So I think you're asking if that staff salary could be included as reimbursement to like an eligible activity for the EFSP program.
No, that's not my question. My
Okay.
question is, it seems from reading the request, that is not one of your budgeted items, but that is part of our operational expense. And for qualifying for dollar amount of funds to be requested, you only have that we can request under Part A and Part B, and that's dealing directly with food. But we have workers that put the boxes together and do all of that kind of stuff, and we pay them to do that.
So are you asking if that's,
Can that be a part of the overall budget to determine the 55%?
55% match?
Yes.
So,
Because of the total program budget.
right, so yes, it can be included. So you're saying, so the total program budget, you're saying can it be part of this service category?
No, I'm looking at the same Part B. see part B, it says the service categories, and that our service category is other food. And let's say that we have an overall program budget of 25,000. Okay, then it says that we would only be able to request 6,000 from your organization. Since part of that 25,000 that we have as a program budget, we have supplies, packaging supplies, we have workers, we have a total of 4 employed workers that work part-time, and they are paid. My question is, are those types of expenses, they are not food direct, but they are go to help us package what we do and distribute it to the community? When we are looking at getting 55%, can we add the total, because it says of the total program budget, can we add that and include that in the 55%?
Yes, so the amount of the total overall budget, that is what you're going to be using to show the 55%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
that's the
yes,
question.
so yes to that, but I want to make sure, because I thought I heard I want to make sure that that is to show the match.
Yes,
When it comes
right.
to providing services for the EFSP funds, staff cost is not included. However, if you apply for other foods, there's some other items like boxes, bags, those types of things are allowable for EFSP funds.
Okay.
Staff costs are not, only because the 2% admin cost that is allowable for the total jurisdiction has already been allocated out. So I want to make sure that that's, yes, the staff cost can be part of that, your total budget for that particular program, but the staff cost cannot be part of an eligible expense for your claims for EFSP.
Okay. Is
Okay.
equipment an eligible item?
So equipment
Like
under,
a new refrigerator?
say that again?
Like a new refrigerator?
So equipment is allowable under, for food banks.
Mm-hmm.
And it is allowable for, I believe it's only up to, oh shoot, I should know that by heart. I believe it's only up to $500.
Oh, that's not enough to get a refrigerator.
I know.
Okay.
So there is a program guide online
Mhm.
that you can take a look at to see the different eligible expenses.
Okay.
And then we can talk offline when it comes to individual requests, but there are some expenses that fall under the other food category.
Okay.
But I hope I answered your question.
You did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So on this slide, I put some references, and this is the website for the the National Emergency Food and Shelter Program site, as well as our site. And then in order to contact the local board, which is myself and my department, we have an email address. It's efsp@revco.org. And that is the same email that you will be, that's the same email address that you will be submitting your applications to, which is listed on the request for applications. Are there any questions? Comments? Well, if there are no other questions or comments, again, you have up until tomorrow about 5 to email me any questions or concerns. I will do my best to try and be as flexible as possible with all of you because we welcome new organizations. So if no one has anything, I don't see anything in the chat. I will dismiss at this time. Feel free to reach out if at any time. I will try and monitor that EFSP email at least. I check it at least maybe about 6 times a day because I'm constantly going in there. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if you need some assistance. And then I believe that was Connie who or maybe it was Connie who talked about the exclusion list. We can email me and let me know what you do have from them and I'll take it. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good luck.
Thank you.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good afternoon, this is Rashawn.